books. There's a number of books that I have. I believe I listed some of these, maybe not all the ones I'm going to show right now, but I listed some of these books in my ebook. And a lot of students don't even know what the ebook is, but you can find the ebook on the page or the site where all the modules are. Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, now Module 4. You'll find also on that same site, you'll scroll down after Module 4, and I think you get to monthly deliverables. And then you get to the critique sessions that I have offered, and you can review a lot of this information. When I first started out, there wasn't hardly any information that I had. We had to develop some information to actually develop the site and develop the course. Since then, the course has been up for about 4, almost 5 years. I've got tons and hours of video information at your disposal to look at and peruse through. And some of it is categorized, especially the monthly deliverables are categorized and titled so that you can, if you're having a problem with something, you can go into one of those titles, and it might be able to help you find a way to get over some of the things that become stumbling blocks for us. But the Carlson's Guide to Landscape Painting, it's the Bible to the landscape painter. It has so much information in it. I'm not going to delve into I got a number of different books. So I'm not going to necessarily delve into each book and show what I want to do is to hopefully that you have purchased this book and the other books that I'm gonna suggest that if you don't have them to look into getting them. I'm not also offering a link to purchase them because there are so many different places that carry these books, and some are different priced than others. And so, I mean, when I'm looking for something to purchase, I will go onto a site and try to find a search site like Google or whatever you use for a search engine, if you will. And I will plug in, for instance, I'll just plug in John F. Carlson's book or Landscape on Painting. If I don't know the title, I'll just go John. I have to know at least the person that wrote the book. So I'll go John F. Carlson and then go to books. There's a category sometimes in the search. You can go to images, you can go to all, or you can go to books. I'll hit books, and then it'll pull up the books, and then I can also find. You might go to shopping. There's also a menu in the Google bar that says shopping. And you can find all the places that carry this particular book. And then you can price shop and find out which is the best for you. And you might belong to some of the, like eBay, you might belong to eBay or have an account where you can get a little bit better deal. So again, that's why I'm not going to spend the time to show you where you can get this book, because you can easily do that yourself. But this is a must. And if you have this book and if you have read it, when you're stumbling and having some problems, open those books back up again. Read a couple paragraphs. Go through a few pages. They will sometimes help. Sometimes I'm scattered all over. And I get into a book, and all of a sudden I'm directed, and I'm more focused, and I'm starting to read about something. Sometimes it's words, and sometimes it's images that can get me back onto course. So don't forget some of these books that we have in our libraries that we can tend to dismiss them. Some books I have read over and over, and I put a yellow highlighter to them, and I just keep on highlighting more things in those books. And now, after a number of years, just about the whole book is yellow with highlighted information. Edgar Payne, The Composition of Outdoor Painting. Edgar Payne was a artist pretty much from the West Coast, one of the California Impressionists, back in the 20s, 30s, 40s. I believe that was his time period. And wonderful artist. If you haven't seen his works, Google his work. And of course, he's got a book, Composition of Outdoor Painting. And it's not just about, spatial arrangement of shapes like you're seeing here. There is a big section on that. But the book, The Composition of Outdoor Painting, he talks about a little of everything to do with outdoor painting, similar to what John F. Carlson did. I found a site. I'm just going to share it with you real quickly, and we'll go through it. And here is, obviously that's the cover of the book, and then scroll down. Somebody took a lot of time in putting this together, which is very nice, and I'm just taking advantage of their efforts, but just to show you. But there's a lot of good information. Here again, you can see somebody's reading and they're highlighting the book. Some people don't want to do that, but hey, that book needs to be used as a reference source and a learning source. So for me, doing something like this, highlighting it, is the thing to do. Let's see here. Go back. Whoops, no, I'm off on something here. Okay, I'm not sure what happened here. Hold on, I'm going to put you on hold 1 second. Well, I can't do that either. I lost my... okay, let's see if I can jump back out of that. Let's see if I can go back to it again. I can't. Something happened where I... There we go. And let's click back. Okay, now we're back. I'm sorry about that. Here I was on this page. But what this book is really known for is these sections on composition. And he goes through some more notable paintings. It might be some of his own. I forget if there were other artists too, but he talks about how the strength in the composition is in some of these paintings. I did that again. And just going to keep my cursor away from that. So he goes through some of these images and talks about the composition. And that's one of the most difficult things to teach is composition. He has a section on, and I have that in my ebook that I used, and I give him credit for that. It's not my invention, but he talks about all the different certain titles to compositions, like the mass grouping, the tunnel effect, the steel yard. There's all kinds of different titles that he has placed to certain compositions. And one should know those so that when you get out on location, you can kind of look at what the scene that you're about to paint, what composition it falls into. It'll help you. He talks about, sometimes repetition and balance and so forth. These books are just invaluable. Obviously, you're in this workshop and you're getting information from me, but I'm only one source. And you may be with me for a year, you may be with me for 2, 3, 4 years, depending upon how long you want to continue on the course and feel you're getting some value out of it. I welcome students to do that, and I've got some that have stuck with me for 3, almost 4 years. But I'm not the only source, and I don't know all the answers because I even have to dig through some of these books again myself and refresh my memory, or just kind of look at what I need to be thinking about. So these books are just awesome opportunities to continue to learn and gain our knowledge from. So don't forget to continue to use them as much as you possibly can. Let me get back to these slides. Another book that I suggest is Hawthorne on Painting, Charles W. Hawthorne. and his wife collected notes from her husband after he had passed away. And she actually, afterwards, so many students had said, gosh, Mr. Hawthorne was so good at lecturing and demonstrating and so forth that, do you have any other notes? And she went through all his notes and actually put this book together. This book was an eye-opener for me when I read this book, and I read it often, and I read it many times, and this is another book that I started to highlight and more. It's a small little book. I think it's put out by the Dover company, Dover Publishing. But it's a must for the artist. What I got out of this book the most, there's many things, but one that really stood out is Hawthorne's way of talking about painting spots of color in the right shape, right value, and the right color on a canvas. And before you know it, you'll have a painting. He took students out he taught in Cape Cod in Massachusetts. That's where he had his school. And he took people out onto the beach, people that never painted figures and whatever. He said, what are we going to paint today? We're going to paint figures on the beach. Oh gosh, I never painted figures before. I don't think I'll be able to do it. So don't worry. You're not going to be actually painting figures. You're going to be painting spots of color. So this method that he taught, or way of teaching, took that fear away from the student and allowed them to think about something different than painting a figure. He said, here, paint that shape that happened to be an arm. Paint the shape next to it and paint the shape of the arm and paint the shape of the arm that's in shadow and the one that's in light. And don't think of it as being an arm. Just paint the shape and the relationship of the size to the other shapes around it. Break the painting into shapes, puzzle shapes. I talk about that often. Before they knew it, they were painting figures on the beach. He was a remarkable teacher. So this is again, a must book. The other book that I came across later on that I didn't know how valuable it was, and I didn't actually read this book when I was an illustrator. I came through up the ranks after art school. I went into commercial art. I worked as a commercial illustrator and designer for a number of years. And that's what my teaching actually was. And it was probably the best teaching I could get. I didn't know how good of instructors I had until I was out of school and found out how much knowledge I really did gain after you were able to start to use it. But this book, by Andrew Loomis, Creative Illustration, he wrote a number of different books, but this particular book, Creative Illustration, I would say is another must. It's a pretty good sized book. The only thing that you might find a little awkward with this book is that it's dated. The images are dated. It looks like it's from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. But don't let that change your mind. It's what is most important is the information that you can get from this book. He goes through everything that I feel this book, even though it's more directed to maybe somebody that wants to be an illustrator, this book is it's invaluable to the representational painter. Either you are a figurative, still life, or landscape painter. You'll find so many great opportunities, or knowledge, I should say, not opportunity. You'll get so much great knowledge from this book. And then it'll also inspire you to experiment and try some of the things that he's doing in illustration, but in your own process of being a landscape painter or a still life painter or a figurative painter. So check this book out also. And lastly, those that are working more with the figure, and I think the figure is one of the most challenging subjects to draw or paint. And I would suggest if you want to be a landscape painter, still life painter, and obviously if you're going to be a figurative painter, it's a must. But even if you're not going to be a figurative painter, this is a must book because drawing from the figure will tune your eye up for any other subjects that you're about to put in front of you to paint or draw. And the drawings, Bridgman's drawings are just to die for. Just the book is filled with his sketches, and as he lectured, he would sketch. Some of these were huge sketches. I happened to see some of the originals. He taught at the Lime Academy, and I guess from what I understood, he would he had a large stick, almost like a bamboo stick, maybe 4 foot long stick. He put a piece of big charcoal on the end of that stick, and he had these huge pieces of paper, almost like newsprint, that as he lectured, he would talk and draw about what he was lecturing. And so he had these huge drawings. And one time that I came to Lime Academy, in the library, they had some of these big sheets of newsprint framed up with his sketches that, again, are to die for. His knowledge and his ability to be able to draw from not even looking at something, but just his knowledge of the anatomy was such that he could just draw it out of his head. It's awesome. So anyways, this is a great book too. All these books are relatively inexpensive. You're not going to spend a ton of money on them. And they will be in your library the rest of your life, and I hope that you will open them up often to refresh and to be inspired and to get out of those ruts occasionally that we get into.
Hi, my name is Kenn Backhaus, and welcome to this online art instructional course. I've been involved in the arts professionally my entire life. I'm a signature member of the Plein Air Painters of America, master signature member of both the Oil Painters of America and the American Impressionist Society. My works have appeared in many of the national art magazines. I've been included in several books, to name a few: The Art of the National Parks, Sea to Shining Sea, and The Enchanted Isle, Plein Air Painting on Catalina Island. I was one of the hosts for 2 art-related public television series: Plein Air Painting the American Landscape, and the art instructional series, Passport and Palette. I've been teaching art workshops for over 20 years. Prompted by many students' requests, I created this particular Study to Studio course. This course is developed for either the indoor or outdoor painter. The translation from a reference study to a larger studio painting has always been a challenging process. In this 4-week course, I define the tools of my trade, my palette, and an important color mixing demonstration. I will take you through the same exact process which has proven to be successful for me in the studio, including various creative options that will improve the results of your studio efforts. My process of teaching is wrapped around the sound and historic foundations and principles that are the guidelines that defines quality art. I feel confident and believe that you will discover this course to be very beneficial to your future artistic development. Tucson Art Academy's online courses is the new way for art educational opportunities. I hope to see and work with you in this new online course.